Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of TechViews Unplugged. I'm Andy Mann from CA Technologies. I'm here with the ever outstanding George Watt, also of CA Technologies. Hi George, how you doing?
G'day, Andy.
Hey mate, let's get into the new and cool because I always love this segment. I love the stuff you bring. So I'm going to ask you first, what's new and cool in your world?
Well, I was going to tell you about the National Science Foundation in the U.S. And their award of $20 million in research grants for cybersecurity-related work aimed at things that we've discussed in previous episodes like privacy, healthcare, and of course, cloud. Have to say cloud, right? For example, there's a team at Dartmouth College that's going to work on securing health records, medical audits, developing malware detection. Another's going to address privacy issues. Again, another thing we talked about a lot. And they're going to focus on those usage terms and conditions we all read from top to bottom before we click on, of course, right? And there's a third team focusing on security. So it's great to see some investment that will hopefully be fodder for new and cool in future episodes. But Andy, since you're a strange quark, I thought I would talk about quantum computing.
Oh, okay.
The University of Bristol is making quantum computing available to anyone via the cloud, and they're doing it for free. They call their project QCloud. That's Q followed by the letters CLOUD, one word. And it's housed at their, it makes a quantum processor that's housed at their Center for Quantum Physics available to researchers anywhere in the world. Now, as you might imagine, there'll be a lot of demand for something like this. So in order to ensure that its use is optimized, the QCloud team is also making a quantum simulator available, along with a host of user guides and instruction manuals that will help people better understand quantum computing basics. So researchers, teachers, students, or even you and I can run simulations until we're satisfied that the experiments are in order, and then we can queue them up for the real thing. And the QCloud team hopes that by making this technology more accessible, it will result in incredible advances and in discoveries that perhaps wouldn't have been possible. And I certainly believe they've increased the odds of something exciting happening dramatically through this initiative. So anyone can take advantage of it, and we'll put some links into the sites and so on in the episode notes below. And it's fantastic because getting access to a quantum processor is, as you can imagine, not quite easy. You know, I had to wait in line outside our local electronics store for 48 hours to get mine.
That long? I'm surprised.
Yeah, that's probably almost as long as you had to wait for your smartwatch, right?
Oh, don't get me started on the smartwatch, man. I so want a smartwatch. I grew up watching Dick Tracy. I'm talking real Dick Tracy here, right? Not Warren Beatty, Madonna Dick Tracy, with a smartwatch and all this. Fantastic. So I looked on this announcement just this past month with a lot of excitement. When Samsung, for example, came out and announced a smartwatch, there are a couple of others around as well, a couple of Indiegogos, and even Nissan has a smartwatch. But you know what? It's not a standalone watch. It's not as cool as I wanted it to be. But so I think in that respect, it's a bit like Google Glass was to Google, right? It's a halo. It's a toe in the water. Something they put out there to really get some reputation, to get some buzz and experiment and see what people really do want. Ultimately, I think this current new version is just a bit too geeky, even for an uber geek like me, right? It's ultimately not that functional. I found it interesting also that Apple didn't even announce anything at the Worldwide Developer Conference when they were announcing the new iPhone 5s. Didn't say a thing, even despite all of the hacks, and by hacks I mean Photoshops, of the Nano being made into a smartwatch. You know, it's interesting, but I do worry. You know, when you talk about the Internet of Things and smartwatches, is this a new vector for attack? Is this a new hack attack waiting to happen? We talked last month about hacking cars and getting entry to them. Right. This month we saw new news that you can actually gain control of cars via mobile devices. So, you know, it could be a little bit scary. Now, that's actually all for new and cool, but we've got to get on to news. And talking of mobile and mobility, what's up in your world? I think you've got something to talk about mobility, yeah?
Yeah, well, it's no surprise that the mobility world continues to be exciting, right? And one story that has, I guess, justifiably received a lot of buzz is Microsoft's purchase of Nokia's handset division for just under €5.5 billion. Now, this is a story with a plethora of interesting aspects that range from business management to technology. First, the acquisition has spurred some speculation that Stephen Elop, who was Nokia's CEO at the time of the deal, will be Microsoft's next CEO. And some people have actually made a very strong case for that. Steve Ballmer, Microsoft's current CEO, has announced publicly that he will retire. So the position's soon open. And Don Riesinger posted an article in eWeek that gave 10 reasons why that's going to happen. Elop will become next Microsoft CEO. And some of them are fairly compelling. For example, he mentioned that Microsoft is, of course, looking for help in mobility, and Elop can certainly help with that. He also mentions that Elop has both a software and a hardware pedigree, which makes him an ideal candidate, not to mention it puts him on a shorter list. And the cherry on the sundae for them might be that Elop is a former Microsoft employee. Yeah. So he brings with him not only the respect of about a quarter of Microsoft's post-acquisition workforce, the 32,000 Nokia employees, but his Microsoft pedigree should also help him with the others, right? The other three quarters. And that has to be a decent advantage over other candidates. So add to these things that he already knows Microsoft's mobile division, an area where they need focus. He's really well positioned. And then there's the fact, and Reisinger points this out, that he left a CEO job to be a VP at Microsoft. And so Reisinger asks, well, why would he do that if it wasn't for a potential shot at the big chair at Microsoft? But I like to think about technology implications as well, right? And I could spend another hour on that. But let's pick two quick items. First, in a previous episode, I ranted about experience-driven design, right? And how consumers are demanding compelling, engaging, context-aware apps that catch them in the moment, offering them services when they most need them, products when they're most likely to buy. And we discussed how that was driving multi-channel, amongst other things, multi-channel application delivery. In fact, I think we used Netflix as an example of a multi-channel app, right, that runs on laptops, desktops, mobile devices, even game consoles. Well, Microsoft was one of the first to deliver a multi-channel operating system experience, right? And they're doing it by leveraging the most ubiquitous desktop OS on the planet. So if we add Elop and the 32,000 strong Nokia team's mobile experience and capability to this, we have the potential for some real magic to happen here. They have a tremendous opportunity, but it doesn't necessarily stop there, right? Nokia's recently done something fairly exciting with their hardware. I think in the same chief experience officer rant I went on, I said we were no longer dealing with mobile phones, right? That we were dealing with highly functional mobile computing devices that could also make a telephone call, though why would you ever use one for that? I don't know. But why would we stop at general purpose computers, right? Sure, they're useful and they're certainly exactly what many of us need, but why wouldn't we start thinking about expanding our view of the primary function of the device, the thing that's most important to the consumer? And so, Andy, you're a photographer, for example, right? And I'll bet you use your smartphone to take a lot of photos. I do. Yeah, I've seen some on Twitter. I have others that I'm holding in case I need them. But if your primary reason to use a smartphone was to take photos, wouldn't it make more sense to have a mobile, lightweight, fully functional camera that could also access social media and email and make calls and so on, as opposed to a phone that can take okay photos? And that's what Nokia recently did with the release of their 41 megapixel Lumia phones. So now they have a multi-channel OS. They've got the OS people and the mobility people together. They've already delivered a new device function first handset. I'd say that's a pretty good start. So even though this has been ho-hummed by many, I think they have every chance to succeed and perhaps to do something really exciting and mobile. And I think it's definitely something to keep a very close eye on. They've got a great opportunity, and this could be exciting. And there's a ton more we could talk about here.
Yeah, really. I mean, I've seen, for example, Samsung have a new smart camera, because it's also not a phone.
Right.
But you see certainly the new iPhone 5 series coming out with much better specs on their phone, really going after that market with a vengeance. But Nokia obviously had that in the bag already. Really interesting ideas about the use of specific computing as well. I see a lot of future in that.
Right, especially in things like industries like healthcare or maybe delivery, transport. Right? Device becomes the primary place you work.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean the smartphone, the original mobile computing devices were much more specific as well in terms of logistics, store handling, delivery systems, and so forth. It's really interesting because I saw an article actually this week that was talking about how people are using mobile devices to replace desktops as a preferred venue for news and sports and entertainment. Now, I think that's really interesting. People using different devices for different purposes really starts to key into this idea of functional specific apps, different delivery channels. I know this is how I use my tablet a lot of the time. Watching sporting events, for example, while I'm at the event, I've got my tablet out with the 4G on. Especially, as you probably know, I enjoy watching cycling. I went out to the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. I'm watching it. Of course, it's taking place over a course of 115 miles. I'm watching it over a distance of about 115 yards. So all I can do is stand there and wait, but I'm watching it happen while I'm looking at my tablet. But this is extending, right? This is the idea of the second screen, watching events transpire with a second screen in hand. By the way, this story is just a story about user satisfaction with mobile as a second screen, not necessarily with penetration. So take that, what you will, with a grain of salt. But I see this move towards specific apps and devices in different contexts as a real change in how we've been used to using general purpose computing, as opposed to, like you say, this specific use computing. Very different scene. I think an exciting opportunity.
Absolutely.
Hey, George, I think we have to go into new and cool now, into our quick fire now. So let me just make sure that I've got a stopwatch set, because I'm going to ask you the first question. Your time starts now. CRN Magazine says there's no reason to panic over periodic cloud outages just before a big Amazon outage due to a hardware failure. So, George, when should we start panicking?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot more failures like this, not just with Amazon, by the way, and I'll explain why in my next cloud article. Andy, Amazon is subjecting candidates for their CIA contract to rigorous screening, even a polygraph. Is it not paranoia if everyone is out to get you?
No, this is just cloud finally growing up, right? Becoming real about security. Hey, George, smartphones are apparently going to outsell basic mobile handsets for the first time in 2013. So, George, does this mean that my flip phone is not cool anymore?
If you were holding it, it never was. Not surprising, it's already happened and we're just getting started. Andy, Layer 7 research found 85% of enterprises will adopt APIs by 2016. Are you surprised?
Oh, look, George, I'm absolutely not. APIs are totally the next big wave of innovation in IT. And, George, finally, Google has secretly phased out its 20% time for innovation. Didn't you write about this in the Innovative CIO?
Yeah, I'm not entirely surprised. I did write about it in the Innovative CIO, and it really wasn't exactly what most people thought it was anyway.
There's the buzzer.
In practice, it worked a lot like the way innovation works most places. So perhaps Google put it in place to help develop and foster an innovative culture, to make a statement about the importance of innovation to them, which is important, and maybe they no longer need it. But whatever the reason, I'm sure they'll still innovate.
Yeah, look, and I read your stuff in the Innovative CIO. Not surprisingly, shameless plug, people, go buy the Innovative CIO. There's a lot more about the 20% time in there. It's a really interesting thing and not understood very well by a lot of people, I think. Hey, George, that's all we've got time for. Not that we haven't done enough shameless plugs today, your blog, our book, but one thing I do want to tell everyone about is we have the new Luminaries Take 5. This was filmed live at CA World. New videos featuring top commentators like Michael Hugos, Robert Scoble, wearing the Google glasses, by the way, talking about the Google glasses. Also innovative CIOs like Ken Peddington from Global Partners LP, Matt Clark from Qualcomm, talking live, these quick 5-minute hits about driving innovation using IT and technology in general. Fantastic. Go to ca.com/luminaries to check that out. That's all we've got time for, shameless plugs notwithstanding. George, thank you for your time. Thank you to everyone who joined us again for TechViews Unplugged. I'm Andy Mann from CA Technologies for George Watt, also of CA Technologies. We'll see you next time on TechViews Unplugged.